Jeff Gray is a certified Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt with over 25 years of experience executing and implementing lean operations methodology around the globe and within 30 different industries. Jeff was trained by the godfather of Six Sigma himself, Dr. W. Edwards Deming, at George Washington University. Jeff's project management and Lean Six Sigma process improvement skills have been successfully applied within global supply chains, commercial construction, technology, gaming and hospitality, finance, consumer goods, healthcare, and many more. His clients have included Microsoft, Adidas, Custom Concrete, Marin General Hospital, Starbucks, Oregon State University, Chase, U.S. Navy, Chevron Texaco, Silver Reef Resort Casino, and many more. Jeff is currently the CEO of Lean Revisions, an operations management consulting firm in Western Washington.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeff Gray. How's everyone doing today? Welcome to the Lean Lounge, where we talk about everything lean, everything under the umbrella of optimizing operations, being more efficient, being more effective out there, balancing your work life, growing your business profits, eliminating waste, and all those kind of challenges that you experience out there. And let's just dive right in. What I like to do is just make sure that we are talking to each other, engaging with each other, sharing ideas, sharing some of your own challenges and experiences as you're out there optimizing operations in your organizations. I've worked with, as you've been listening to the podcast all over the place here, I've worked overseas, I've worked all over the US. And no matter what type of business you're in, no matter what you do, you have a process. And sometimes those processes can be very challenging. And when they become challenging, they cost us money and waste and time. And so today we're going to talk about in this podcast for a little bit about what is the cost of poor quality. A lot of people don't even understand what that is. What do you mean poor quality? Anytime you are experiencing any kind of issue, small things like waiting for some information, simple things like that, or to a catastrophic failure out in the field, how much is that costing you, your business, your brand, your reputation, your lost money that you can work with and do other things with? So we're going to talk about the concept of cost of poor quality. And those of you in the audience, you know how this goes. Feel free to chime in with some of your experiences and how you measure. Because one of the things I want to do with this podcast is make sure that all of our audience is sharing information, sharing what you've done. Some of you are consultants, some of you are business owners, some are students, things of that nature. So, make sure you share your experiences with the group out here. That's what we're all about. It's helping each other out. So, cost of poor quality. If you go out on Google, you'll see all kinds of things, different charts, different graphs, how you analyze it and measure it. My colleagues and I have been doing this for many, many years, and we have a formula. We even have a calculator to help you. If you go to our website, you can download that calculator, watch some videos, and you should, because it will remind you of the methodology and what you should be looking at and thinking about when you're out there doing gimbal walks in your organizations and really just standing observing how things are operating and how much it's costing you when you have poor quality product, poor quality service, poor communication, any of those things that are costing you dollars and cents. And so there's 8 things. I have a graph here to show you. And so you get an understanding of what these things are. And again, you can Google all of these things, but these are the 8 waste of quality, COPQ. And what you need to do in any organization, whether you are, making head over fist profits, yeah, excuse me, or you're really, experiencing some challenges, about ready to go out of work, out of business, you need to be able to look at this information and turn it into the dollars. And where are these things happening in your processes? And so we know where to pinpoint our resources to begin to eliminate these challenges in these wastes in our process and where we're bleeding money. And so the 8 wastes, this has been around for a long time. Sometimes you might have heard downtime. Is another acronym for this. But when you want to think about this is the key thing here, is waiting. About 50% of all of the waste in your processes and procedures are waiting. You are waiting for something. Anytime you are waiting for something, it's waste. Simple thing. When you go to the doctor, sorry, docs, when I go to the doctor, my appointment's at 12 o'clock. Well, I get there at 11:58. I sign up and I sit there for 30 minutes. I'm waiting. That's wasting my time. That's costing me money. That's costing me. Might not be costing the doctor because I'm in the queue and he or she is going to get paid even if I leave, but it's costing me money. When you look at your organization, construction site, you see 10 of your people standing there waiting for something, and there's two guys in the ditch digging the hole. They're the ones making the money for the business. The other ones are just overhead and waste. Why aren't they doing something to add value to the product and the output? So stand there and observe in your process and see how much time. I encourage people to just take a little tick mark, whether you're at a desk, whether you're out in the field, anytime you are stagnant and waiting for information, a response, a signature, a feedback, that's cost. And now think about how much you are costing the business, your sunk cost, an hourly wage, whatever. And you take that and multiply it by the time and how many times throughout the day, that could be costing you $100 a day or $1,000 a day. And as those things move through your processes, the more time that takes and the more it costs. So the next one here, so think about that, everyone. The next one here is transportation. If you are transporting things more than once across the US, across the oceans, wherever, every time you touch it, store it, pick it up, and move it, it costs. How much does that cost you? That transportation. Do a little spaghetti diagram. How much time, how much value, how much distance, how much cost, how much expedite? It's all cost. And when you go to our calculator on our site, there's formulas that'll help you figure all these things out. So I'm not going to get deep dive. This is a podcast, and half of you are driving or on an airplane or something. So I'm not going to go into that. The next one we have here is motion. Just motion. If you're in a organization and everything's right there where you need it, when you need it, and you have to go get it, you have to move from here to there. You have to go back and forth to do things. Do a little spaghetti diagram. How many times are you going back and forth? If you're going back and forth 20 times and each time is taking you, 30 seconds, well, there's 10 minutes. Now you have 50 people doing that all day. Do the math. That's waste. That's cost. Turn everything into dollars, and that's going to help you begin to redesign that organization with simple 5S's or something like that to help you become optimized. Our next one there is defects. We all know what a defect is. Now, a defect might not be a defective product, but a defect is something, let's say this desk I'm sitting at, it wiggles. If I touch it too hard, you'll notice the camera will move. But it's not defective. It doesn't have scratches and dents in it. But now if I touch it and it falls over, now I have a defective table. So how much is that costing you as you go through your process? You cannot inspect quality in and defects out. You have to build quality in. And the defects won't even arise. The scrap won't even be there. So start looking at how much each one of these, labor, materials, supply, procurement, and now you get halfway down the line and something is defective or has a defect and rework. That's cost, folks. How do you put that cost into a project that you can begin to eliminate those issues out of? The next one here we'll talk about is underutilized talents. Why do we have our people in silos? Joe is the accountant. Jane is the this. Those people in your organization should be able to be balanced and utilized with everything they can bring to the table. Stop putting people in a bucket in a box. Upskill them, train them, cross-train them so they can do more. You can do more with less, get more done. Upskill them. Utilize everything you have before you go out and get more people and more folks and more equipment and more machines and more technology. Clean your house first. The next one we have here, inventory. Inventory is evil. I learned that at Boeing many, many years ago. Inventory is evil. Your inventory should be like a grocery store. It comes in, it goes in the freezer for the milk, and it goes out. The eggs, half the time they're not even there because they're moving, their supply chain. So inventory, anytime you were holding it, some little safety stocks, we had COVID a little while ago, and those things happened. But build that risk in there. That was a big, huge anomaly for all of us. But usually you'll know in time about that inventory. How many times are you turning? You should be turning your inventory 15 times a year. If not, that's an opportunity. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying you're not doing a good job with what you have right now, but those are the kind of things we want to look at. That's money. That's capital. That's just sitting there. probably taken holding tax, lost opportunities for growth, you name it. We come in there and help you. We look at that inventory, anything on shelves and in everywhere. Why is it so much? And how can we reduce that? And due to just in time. That talk to your finance people. They'll tell you how much holding that's costing you every month. And the last one here, extra processing, doing things more than your customers requiring. That's good if it doesn't cost you money to do, and if they like it, if it's a nice, you know, marketing, giveaway or something like that, that's good. But if you're building your product, if your customer wants a Volkswagen and you're giving them a Ferrari, then why are we doing that? Doing more than what's absolutely needed by the customer. Some nice haves are cool, but let's not overdo that. And what is that costing you? And are you getting your ROI on that? So those are some of the things about cost of poor quality. This is just a 20, 30-minute podcast to get you thinking about that. But all of those things are costing you money. And if you look at our formula on our website, it'll help you transition that, map out your system. Where's the rework? Where's my inventory holding? How long did it take me lead time to procure that, hire people to do that, ship it from across the ocean, and now I'm storing it for 3 months before I turn it into something, and then I finally get my reimbursement out of it. Let's shorten that up. Order, transform, sell. That's what you want to get to. That's exactly what you want to get to. So that's a little bit about cost of poor quality. So I know I have some people out in the audience here. Would anybody like to talk about any of these kind of concepts that you've put out there in your organization and used, and understand how to identify these issues and these costs out there in your organizations? Okay, we have a shy group today. It's my bottle cracking. It had his hand up, but we'll keep moving forward. Now, the next thing I wanted you to think about is the next concept I have here on the slide is the consequences of poor quality. And we have prevention costs, appraisal costs, internal failure costs, and external failure costs. I said that on the slide without my glasses. I could barely see that. But prevention costs, if you prevent things from happening, prevent things from occurring and going wrong, if you train your people correctly, you set up your systems correctly, and you prevent things from happening, your prevention costs are way less than your failure costs. So if you bring in a lean team to optimize operations and streamline things and get rid of all the waste and eliminate the problems, it's going to cost you 10 times less than if something happens in the field, maybe even 100 times less, depending on what that issue is, and if it's mission critical kind of things. So as things move through your process there, your appraisal costs, as you start building your products or service and it's going throughout the organization, and something fails, we have to inspect it. Oops, now we have to rework it. Oops, now we have to scrap it. That's going to cost you 10 times more than setting up the system correctly for the first time. So that dollar of waste for prevention is now going to cost you $10 throughout that system. So you want to make sure you turn all these failures and issues and waste into dollars, because then you know where you're bleeding, where you're spending your time and your resources and your revenue, especially if you have thin margins. The whole goal of lean operations is to improve your margins. If you are in some organization and you're building a product or service and it gets right to before you ship it, that final inspection piece, all the pieces come together, we turn the switch on and it doesn't work in-house, that's an internal failure. It's gone through your whole design, procurement, everything to be put together, your labor, materials you're holding. You put it all together, it doesn't work. That's called an external failure. About 30 to 40% of what we capture and catch is at that point, that final inspection. If you had the process set up right and it was functioning correctly, that wouldn't happen. You would catch those things earlier on in the system, maybe just a step or two earlier, and you wouldn't have those sunk costs accumulating as you move through the system. And now I have a question here. Why are appraisal costs and internal failure costs both the same, about 20-25%? Now that's gonna vary depending on what you do, but these are basically as you move through your system, about 5 or 10% of your preventative cost are going to be about 5 or 10% of your overall total cost of waste. If that makes sense. If I said that right, need some more coffee. So as you move down to the next phase, about if you don't catch it until then in the appraisal, then it's going to add another 20% of cost as you move through the system. So what that is, it is accumulating the cost through each step of the system. And so you're going to get 20, 25% ish. And then you go to step 3, 25 to 25% more ish. And that final one, 40% ish or so. So 100% of your total cost is that outside failure. So I hope that made sense. And we could probably spend another hour just really looking at that. And when you really map out your systems, you're really going to be able to uncover that. Hey, if I prevent this up here, I have a 40-step process. If I catch it up here, it doesn't flow all the way through and cost me everything before I catch it out here. That's very simple. So you can see it as you move through your system. It accumulates. Every step costs you more money, and that's your margins squeezing. That's your profits being depleted. That's your labor quitting because of a poor system. And did that answer your question? I hope so, caller. Thank you. Do we have any other callers or anything? All right. And if we show that slide one more time there for me, you guys, I just want to make sure that you realize that when things exit your building, whether it's a product, a service, and it goes wrong, I learned this many years ago. If something is bad, your customer is going to tell about 10 people. Nowadays on the internet, woo, they're going to tell 10,000, 10 million. I mean, we've had some catastrophic failures. I won't talk about them. But when something goes bad nowadays, it's instantly on the air. It's on, all social media or whatever. It might take you 30 years to build that brand, and one mistake, one failure, external failure, that impacts a lot of folks. You're losing business. There's been organizations that I'm sure you're aware of. They've had external failures and they've lost billions of dollars just from that one error that hit the final output there. So the more you can understand your systems and where these costs are accumulating, the further you can begin to eliminate them and squeeze them up the process, and then eliminate them hopefully for good as you begin to optimize your operations. It's not going to happen overnight. It might take you, you've been in business 30 years. It's going to take you a year or two just to understand what you're doing wrong. Start in little pieces, but doing an assessment will help you understand where to begin. And the first thing you need to do is understand where your cost of poor quality is. That should be aligned with your KPIs in your organization. Where are we bleeding? Where are we spending our money? Where in the system? How much is it costing us? Let's go fix this. Let's bring in the right people with the right approach, and then go to the next one. And if you need to understand it, you can always get a hold of us at Lean Revisions. That's what we do. You can go to our website. We have a free calculator that you can go and download. Watch our video. It's about 15 minutes, 12, 15 minutes long. It takes you through all of these steps and how to calculate them and how to put them into our free calculator. It spits out a bar chart and Pareto charts of where you should begin to focus your attention. And it'll tell you, if you work on this, what you're going to improve upon. Usually you should find about 40% improvement reduction if you start using Lean Six Sigma. And so this chart, this calculator will help you identify where to begin. And if you're overwhelmed, you know who to call right there on the screen, leanrevisions.com. My name is Jeff Gray, and I want to thank you and my audience for your comments. There's some things in the chat there too. We will put on, we'll have transcripts of all of our podcasts on our website so you can read them, especially when we have guests, have some nuggets of information to give you. Anyone wants to, chime in the chat. Nice comments, please. No names, no companies. Keep it clean. We're here to help each other.
For more information on today's show or to become a sponsor, visit leanrevisions.com. Join the virtual studio audience by emailing podcast@leanrevisions.com for tickets. Follow us on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, and X. This podcast is hosted by Jeff Gray, produced and edited by Make Your Day Richer.